Hello, welcome back, everybody. Hello, Dawn.
Hi, Judy.
How's
How
it
are you?
going?
It's
Good.
great.
I'm good.
Great. It's funny. I
Uh,
think I'm more nervous now than if I was in person.
I think you'll do just fine. So, as always, if you have questions for Don Miller, please join his channel on Slack, and he'll answer the questions at the end of the presentation. So, let's go ahead and start the
And
video.
welcome to Xcode Triple Vision. My name is Don Miller. I am a iOS developer. I've been an iOS developer for probably about 8 years now. I started with Objective-C, which is one of the hardest languages I learned. I was a developer prior to that, did a lot of C#, and then I really loved the iPhone. Well, actually, my iPod Pro was the thing that really got me into the iOS, and I really loved the software and just kind of building apps for it. So that's what got me started. Objective-C definitely was a hurdle for me. Eventually fell in love with Objective-C, but I eventually ran into Swift. When they released Swift, I was an early adopter and really loved doing things with Swift. So it was really fun to kind of just get going with that. So we'll set some expectations. I'm not a filmographer. I'm not great at this side. I always tell people I'm an engineer. There's people that I partner with to make things look nice. So, and that's kind of where we're at today. So, but we will do some hands-on. I'll try to not make that boring. So we'll have some fun. So the premise of doing this kind of get started with my goal here. So why talk about all three views? So I had the idea for the talk because I wanted to kind of talk about SwiftUI. First of all, I haven't done anything in production with SwiftUI. I'm a new SwiftUI, and I just kind of started looking at some of the differences between Storyboard and SwiftUI, and really got interested. So one of the reasons that I wanted to do this is I have, in the last couple of years, been doing a lot of React Native stuff, and SwiftUI really kind of felt familiar from that kind of React Native stuff as well. So I really like what they've done with SwiftUI. So far it's really cool. And then I had the idea for the talk about, hey, that'd be cool just to kind of give a high level intro to what's the difference between Storyboard and SwiftUI. So Joseph, I think, did a talk yesterday. To be honest with you, I didn't realize until he started his talk how closely related our talks were. So I kind of freaked out at the beginning of it, but then I didn't freak out all that much afterwards, just because there was a little bit different take on it, and he provided a whole different skill set. Very awesome talk, but especially with some of the auto layout that he put in there real programmatically using auto layout. So from a high level, we'll show like an implementation. I'm going to do a very ugly to-do list, and we're going to use a zip file just to show some advantages of the zip file, and then we'll do a storyboard implementation and a SwiftUI implementation. So I'll demo both of those, and we'll kind of go from there and see how we can make it look good. And each so the limited keynote that I'll use is basically just showing some pros and cons, and then we'll jump into code. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about is Storyboard, and just some pros and cons. So one of the things I love about Storyboard is that we have like all your navigation is built using segues. So navigation is very point and click. We can kind of click and drag things, and without actually programming any code, we can like literally storyboard an entire app, with all the screens and all the navigation, all that kind of stuff, just working the way we want it to. We can add IB outlets and IB actions with the assistant. I'll show a little bit of that in the demo, and then we can ability the code, the view, or use point and click. So we can by that we can actually have a blank canvas and programmatically put everything on the UI view or table view, and kind of handle everything programmatically. The other thing we can do is we can the flexibility of doing all of our auto layout through programming. We can do that, or we can actually just use the wizard to kind of to handle some of our auto layout by using our auto layout warnings, things like that. We can use size classes, so we don't have to kind of deal with some of the auto layout depending on how complex or simple our app is. And the other thing is Storyboard is widely adapted, and you can find a lot of help easily. I mean, there's very few things I've done in Storyboard that I couldn't Google or reference in a book, or there's plenty of resources out there that help you make it through on Storyboard. So some of the cons, though, and this is the number one con I've always had with Storyboard, and that is Storyboard is when you create like the main Storyboard file, when you click on it in Xcode, it reindexes. This is an XML file it reindexes the file. And so if you're using Git and you're on a team, it's very, very difficult. You have to go, hey, did I change anything in the Storyboard? Or what's the plan here? So and if you do a diff from the last check-in or from the head, it's like it's not good. It's like I mean, you can dig into it, but I mean, there's a lot of indexing, and it just looks very complicated and different. A lot of times, a lot of times you just check it out, and then sometimes you get burned. It's like, oh, I did make a Storyboard change. So so one of the things to handle that, I learned to break up the storyboards and only focus, like if we're changing some views, like one person's handling it, or nobody's working on a card, two cards that are working on the same storyboard, things like that. So that is definitely the number one con in my eyes, and always has been. And then if the storyboards are not broken up, the one other thing, I once had a teammate that I was working with on this, and it just got out of control. Like, he's got like 80 some views in one storyboard, and it's like, wow, what in the world? I mean, well, and the only reason he brought it to my attention at that point is he's like, oh man, this is just it takes so long to load up, and it's because it wasn't broken up. So a lot of times you can break it up and throw into a bunch of different storyboards. For one, if anybody, when you have that many views in one screen, more than likely more than one person is probably going to need to work on that storyboard, and you're going to have conflicts when you do your pull requests and things like that. So those are the big problems that I see with Storyboard. So with that said, let's just go ahead and create a new view here, and in that view, hold on, let me get my notes here. All right, so in that, what we're going to do is we're just going to create a quick to-do list. So here, I'm just going to call it to-do, actually, story to-do, and it's going to be a very ugly, non-functional to-do list, but it's just going to prove my point on a couple of things. So just something good to demo here. We're going to use language as Swift, and the user interface is Storyboard. So and let's triple vision. This will all be checked into code as well. And then here we'll just go ahead and create. Make sure the Git repository, because this is already in a repository. So I'm going to put this out there. So there in the live code, you can go out to GitHub. I'll give you the link at the end of the talk, and you can go out there and mess around with this if you want as well. All right, so we have our main storyboard here, and everything looks, pretty straightforward. So, nice, beautiful white canvas. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just create a list here of the to-do, and what we'll do is we'll put a table view, and I'll just drag a table view onto this view. So just mark that in there, and do one prototype cell. Okay, and then from there I'm going to create another, just a view controller, obviously, or maybe not obvious. And inside here I'm just going to, from this table view, from that cell, so this is one of the things I really like in Storyboard is we can click on the table view cell, click and drag over here, and then we can actually show this, so create a segue that actually creates this over here. And then over here I'm just going to put in a label. Notice we haven't done any programming whatsoever yet. So nice, beautiful label. And as I mentioned, we can do everything through the editor. So this is one of the things that's nice, depending on our auto layout, whatever we want to do. And here we'll just, I think the label will just leave 24. And that's centered. So there we go. So we haven't done any programming. We have our two views, and we kind of can look in this and we can see, oh, hey, this is pretty cool. So we're kind of all set. I'm just going to come over here and use the size class as well for this. Get rid of that just so we can work on multiple devices. Very simple, ugly to-do list. All right, so it's not doing anything yet. So what we're going to need to do next, oh, actually I am probably going to need to put a reuse identifier. So in here I'm just going to name it cell. Very sophisticated and useful name. And then my view controller down here. So we're just using UI kit view controller. UI view controller is where we're inheriting from. And all right, let's see. So first thing we're going to need to do, well, actually I'll do that in a second here. So var to-do list equals task 1. Hopefully speed this up through the video. Copy and paste. That speeds things up, right? All right, so we have 6 of these. So let's do task 1. If I was creative, I would come up with some cool things. If I had a lot more time just to play around the whole day, we could use a faker, but we're not going to. So now we're going to number of rows. Let's see. So number of rows. Oh, totally forgot to do my table view, data source, and table view delegate. All right. Now let's say number of rows section. All right. Return to-do list count. And it's yelling because we don't have the cell for row at as well. All right, so that should make it happy. Yep. And let's see. So here we're just going to do let cell equals table view DQ with identifier, and we name that cell. All right, and then here we're just going to do cell label, text label equals to-do list, index path.row. All right. Return cell. All right, so I need to go, what's it mad about? Text label to get only, so I think we need text there. All right. I think everybody's happy here. Yep. All right. Looks great. All right. So here, what we're going to do is in the storyboard, we did not hook this up yet. So I'm going to go over here and put my, let's see, the data source to the view controller and delegate to the view controller. And I think if we run, I'm sure it'll work, right? Okay. And there we go. So there's our task. All right, so obviously it's not leaving. So the next thing we have to do is get our detail screen to populate that in that label. All right. Let's do that. So we'll stop. All right, so let's go ahead and create a new file here, because we're going to need a UI view controller, and here we'll just call it detail view controller. So this is where we're going to put our label. So create, and then here what I'm going to do is, so this is the other beautiful thing about the storyboard, is we can let's view the assistant. Actually, close this down, and then here we're just going to, there we go. So I'll find this view here, and inside here we're going to find the detail controller. So so this is something that you can't do with SWIFTUI. If so, I don't know how to do it, but this is very pretty nice. So here we can just actually, we do need to go set that class. Inside here we have to do our detail view controller, and then here we should just be able to, so if you control and click over here, we can actually do an outlet, and it'll actually create this code. So I don't even know if I put down the pros and cons, but that's definitely a pro. So here I'm just going to call it, our task label, and then boom, it created it and wired it up for us. So in here, I think what we do is we want to task label dot text equals our task name, which I did not create a test name. So here we need a var test name string. All right. And I think we're good here. So we close this editor, we don't need that anymore. And we can come over here to the view controller. And when we do the view controller over here, what we're going to need is we're going to need to create, oh, sorry, go back to Storyboard. And here, we're going to need to know the segue identifier, and this here we'll just call show task. All right, and now we can go to this view controller and we can prepare for segue. And then inside here, if segue identifier equals show task, we can let VC for view controller equals segue destination as detail view controller. And then VC underscore task name. Did I spell that right? Yep. VC. Let's go look. What is the problem? Well, did it, you know what, maybe I didn't save this yet. I think I'm doing this right. Just, yep, there it is. Yeah, I did not save it. Equals to-do list. And then here we'll do, well, actually, let's hold off on that. Let's go and create an IB outlet. And we'll call, let's see, our week. We'll call it table view. And table view. All right. So we have to wire that up. Oh, IB outlet var table view, UI table view. I think we're good. So then here we can finish this up. Equals table view. For selected row. Row. All right. So now what we're going to do is basically when we click, when we press that task, we are good to go. All right, so this should finish the storyboard for us. We'll talk about zip file next, but we do need to come over to this view controller and hook up our table view to the table. All right, so what do you think? You think it'll run? Hopefully it'll run. Task 1. Task 2. All right, so we're good. And one last thing, just to make things nice, we can, again with the storyboard, one of the things that's really nice is we can do editor, and then we can embed in a navigation controller, which really makes it so it's not like a modal window popping up and then we can actually navigate here. Actually, we just embedded it. It will actually work. So, which is even cooler. So, very, very beautiful to-do list. Really loving the design here. I spent a lot of time on this design. I think it's I think it looks good. So that is the storyboard. So let's we'll talk about storyboard B. We'll talk a little bit about zip files, and then we'll just change the demo a little bit to incorporate a zip file. Okay, so for the zip file, What we're going to do is I'm going to try to be really quick on this, and what I'm going to do is we're just going to use a zip file, and we're going to use a custom cell. So this is probably the biggest reason I still use zip files today. As I said, I'm still using Storyboard in production, and I've done this quite a bit. And this is going back to, I was never a developer. Well, actually, I was a developer before Storyboard, but since Storyboard, probably the only time I ever use zip files is probably some kind of template that I'm using. So I'm just going to create a new file here, and it's going to Cocoa Touch class. Say that 7 times. Say it once. UI table view. Table view cell. All right, and then here in the table view cell, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to call it custom. Really, I spent a lot of time on that name as well. So I'm going to create the zip file right there. So when I do that, I'm going to create that here, and it gives us our Swift file and our zip file, and our zip file is right here. It's a very beautiful file. I'm just going to change some things. I'm going to get real crazy. So I'm going to change like the background to like the system indigo color. And one of the things I'm going to do is I'm just going to add 2 labels on it. And I'm going to, here's our first label here, and we should make it probably tint white. System white color, there we go. All right, and then I'm just gonna copy and paste that, and I'm gonna bring this one over here. And so this is going to be our static label. So we'll just call this static. So you just make this as beautiful as you want to do, and then you can kind of do whatever you want. Change the size, the height, and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to get into that. I'm just kind of prove my point real quick. And then so one of the things that we can do is inside our table view, we can actually create first of all our IB outlet. So we don't have to use tags or anything. Custom layout, we can actually use an IB outlet as well. So I'm just going to do IB outlet week var task name, and this was a UI label. All right, so inside here in the set selected, actually I think we're good. Yeah, that's the only thing we need here. Zip file's fine, other than we need cell LBL task name, and I'm going to label it right there. Okay. So once we have, boom, we spent a lot of time making this beautiful, all that. We set up this custom label, and now what we're going to do is we're going to come over to our view controller, which I believe is our, I should probably change the name of that, but that's going to, our view controller is now kind of control this for us. All right, so inside here, what we need to do is we need to register this. So in the view did load, we're going to just do a let nib equals UI nib init nib name, and our nib name is going to be custom table view cell. I'm going to copy and paste this. We're going to use this everywhere. This is nil. And then once we create the nib, we have our table view up here. We can register the nib cell for user identifier, and then here what we're going to call, this is the nib we just created above, and then here we're going to do custom table view cell. Okay, so that's what we're going to call it. So down here in our Let's Cell, the only thing that we're changing is we're going to do, well, this identifier is going to be our custom view cell, and this will be as custom table view cell. Right? So that's our type. All right, so it's real happy here. This we don't use anymore because we're going to use this new cell. So, and because we have LBO test name now in the cell, because remember we created that IB outlet, so that made life a little bit easier. This is to be a text, and then we're going to to-do list, and we can use just like we did before. So we should be good on everything else. We don't have to unwrap that anymore. And our life is good. I think that's it. Anything else? I think that's it. Yep. So there we go. So now here's our task, and you can see the static, and so life is good. So basically that allows us to use the XIB. So just because I'm on truncated time here, that's what we're going to leave that with. So that's the zip file. Zip files are great for using template views. Okay, so SWIFTUI. So I have to move a little quicker here. Even though this is recorded, I'm still against the clock. I don't know how that works. So the pros, it's clean, consistent. You can use code for everything. Screens, in my opinion, are easier to configure. Navigation is not GUI, but it's much easier than jumping in and out of GUI and code. So I think there are a lot of pros of SwiftUI. Like I said, I think it relates a lot to like maybe some React Native people that are coming to native. Really gives them a tool that I think they can pick up on pretty good. And the cons, everything is coded. So maybe that's not. I don't know if that's a con or not, but you're not. There's no clicking and dragging IB outlets. Resizing things. So if you're a visual person, sometimes that might be a little bit of a con. And then even though it's been out for a year, it's still new, so it's kind of tough to find some of these resources on here. So okay, we have limited time. I'm gonna put myself on a timer here. We're gonna create the SwiftUI version of this, of the to-do list, and we will go from there. So I'm just gonna create a single view app here, and I'm going to call it Demo Swift UI, and this right here, the user interface needs to be SwiftUI. So that's the big change. So click next, and we'll put this in the live code. Now I'll check this in. So so the number one thing I forgot to put on my PowerPoint or the keynote was the I forgot to put the previewer. That's the number one pro. That's my number one pro of SwiftUI, so I apologize. But I just wanted to, I was going to say that, like for the one more thing. Oh, one more thing, there's a previewer. So probably by now you've used SwiftUI, so who knows. All right, so let's see, I'm going to just copy. We're going to import SwiftUI here, and then inside this content view, I'm just going to paste my to-do list. We'll put test 6 as well, just to make sure it's exactly the same. So if we resume this, we got the hello world. We're not doing anything crazy here. And all right, so there's our hello world. And what we're going to do is we're going to just do a list. So instead of do this text here, we're just going to do a list, and we're going to do to-do list and ID colon self, and for task in, And then here, we're just going to do a V-stack. So one of the things, so you have a vertical stack or horizontal stack. So we're just doing it to that. So we're going to set the alignment here. The alignment is going to be leading. And that's it. Actually, I didn't need all that. All right, so V-stack alignment leading. All right, so with that said, we're just going to embed some code there, and then here we're just going to do text. So that's our text field, and that's going to be our task, which we're doing right here. So, all right, expected, I was going to say, so boom, wow, we have our list already. So very crazy. I mean, so that was even faster than creating the storyboard and all that. So I mean, this is much faster to code this, and plus we didn't have to run it; it was showing already, so everything's good there. So one of the things we wanted to add though is we did have a navigation view, so we're just going to do a navigation view, and then here, and we're going to put this whole list inside this navigation view. All right, so we're good there, and then here we're going to do dot navigation view style, and here the style is going to be stack navigation view style. All right, thank God for IntelliSense, right? Oh. Oh boy. All right. Okay, so we have that. We're going to need a navigation bar title, and we would put that here, navigation bar title. And this bar title, it's going, I actually forget what the heck we put on. So UI to do example. And in here we will display mode inline. All right. All right, so now with our navigation bar title, I resumed here, and I think we're good. So we have SWIFTUI to-do example. We have our task, but we actually have to run it to re-render here when we choose that. And we'll actually have to run it to get it to navigate. All right, so there we are. Notice when we click these, it doesn't take us to another view. So what we need to do here is stop this, and we need to do this. So I'm just going to add some code here, mostly for the GitHub repository. But one of the things that I did want to show here was there's a configurator, navigation configurator. It took me a little while to figure this. I just wanted to change the top to blue. And so this navigation configurator is a little bit of code that allows us to change that title bar up the top. So we can do that navigation or the background here. So I can click on background. Inside this background, I'm going to do this navigation configurator. We'll just do NC in, and then here we'll just do nc.navigation bar .title text attributes equals foreground color equals UI color blue. All right, so and then we'll resume over here, and voila! You see this it turns blue. So yay, yippee yay, right? All right, so let's go over here and let's create our detail view. So I'm just going to click over here, say new file. I'm just going to put a blank Swift file in here. All right, so the first thing we're going to need to do, just like we had in our other one, we're going to do a task string And then we're going to do var body some view. I'm rushing, otherwise I think we could have probably had this done already. VStack, so we're going to vertical stack. And then here, this is going to be very simple. You have chosen task. Okay. So just by leaving it and coming back, it did pop up this create. Well, we need to create the preview, which will throw it down here for us, and then we can resume this, and we should be able to see content detail. So by doing that, I made that a. Oh, dang it! Struct instead of a class. And that should make that happy, yeah. Save. And try again. All right, so here's our hello world. And here we'll just do our navigation bar title. And then this will be a text. And then here will be our task. And we'll display mode inline. All right, why is it not liking that? Navigation bar title should be good. All right, so let's go back to our content view here. And inside here, what we're going to do is make more room. And what I'm going to do is we have our VStack up here. We have our list of VStack. And then inside this VStack, instead of doing text, which we will use, I'm just going to cut that. I'm going to do a navigation link. All right, so looks like I saved and life seems to be a little bit better. I don't know what's going on there, but as you can see here, let's see, we're resumed. This is our navigation link, so we'll go ahead and run it. And when we call it, you have chosen task 1, put task 1 at the top. You have chosen task 5 at the top. Or so, here it is. So messy. You know, live coding, even though it's pre-recorded. So who knows? So hopefully you enjoyed that. You can see the SWIFTUI took us a lot less time, even with some of the hiccups we had. A lot faster than what it took us with Storyboard. So a lot of cool stuff in SWIFTUI. So hopefully you check it out. So there we go. There's the, my name's Don Miller again. Here's the URL for GitHub, and I will be happy to answer any questions. Sorry I went a couple minutes over. I shaved as much as I could, but happy to answer any questions.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Don. I don't see any questions in the Slack right now, unless anybody is typing at the moment. Tyler Bridget is typing. Clap emoji. Yay.
Yeah, thanks. It was good. It was an experience. Probably the number one thing I learned from doing those demos is do not name your project SwiftUI. Like you'd never name a production one that, but wow, it just gave me all kinds of errors. But interesting.
Live and learn.
So, but thanks everybody. It's great to be here.
All right. Thanks so much, Don. We will take a break until